Getting your camera to follow a path is super simple. All we need is a path for the camera to follow. So if we were to double right click here or press Shift A to bring up our add menu, under curve here, basically anything under this curve menu is something that our camera can follow. So we could do like a simple Bezier curve, a circle, a NURBS curve, what have you. So say I were to add this Bezier curve here, and we just press S to scale. If there's at least one curve or path type object in the scene, you'll see this option pop up here, follow path. And when you see it pop up, you can click it and automatically the camera will follow that path. You'll also see that the curve is given this title animation path. If you haven't already given the curve, circle, or path or whatever a specific name, then it will be dubbed animation path. And also you'll see these keyframes be automatically generated. So if we press play, the camera will both follow the path and track the angle of the path automatically. So if we wanted to reverse that, we could press camera again. Now that we're actually following a path, we see a lot more options pop up here under the follow path. So we could press reverse path, and that reverses the path for us. We could speed this up or slow this down by controlling our keyframes of this animation path here. So say I wanted it to be twice as fast. With my timeline indicator, right mouse click to bring it back to 0 because the keyframes will scale from where this indicator, this orange line is. With it on 0 and these keyframes selected here, if I press S to scale, I could manually bring this down to 2, which would be half of 4 seconds. Or you could just enter 0.5, which is to basically tell Blender, hey, 50% of what it was at, which was it was at 4, so now 2, and then click to confirm that. So if we press play, this will go much faster here. Or if, say, we wanted this animation to start somewhere else, so maybe we didn't want it to start for 3 seconds, we could press G to grab the whole thing and click it down here. And of course, it will snap to that. And if we go back, it won't actually start until that point in the animation, which is what we want. We can also, at any time we want, have the camera follow a different path. So if I were to double right click over here and under curve, say add a circle here, I could press S to scale. So with this path here selected, I could press camera and follow path. And now the camera will be following and tracking the angle of this circle we had selected. Notice too, this is now called animation path. And since we've already got this animation path down here, it might do us well to go ahead and rename this something more useful. So we could go ahead and keep animation as the first word since the outliner alphabetizes stuff. Sort of a way we can keep this lined up in the outliner by keeping animation as the first word there and then call this circle path. So if we press play, the camera is now following and tracking the path there. Or if we wanted to reverse that, we could come down to camera, press reverse path. And if we bring this back to the first keyframe where this is starting here, you can see this says animation circle because these are the keyframes of the object we have selected. Press play. Now it's going the opposite direction. Notice too that the keyframes for this path animation were generated directly from where the timeline indicator was. So when we selected this circle and we pressed camera follow path, the default animation was generated between the frame it was on, which was like, let's see, 2:11 to 4 seconds later. So by default, a 4-second long animation will be generated. Unless there's already objects in this scene that are animated, then the animation for the path will be automatically generated for the length of the animation. So to show you what I mean, under here, under camera, I'm going to press stop follow, which removes the relationship between the camera and these paths here. And I'm just going to shift select them and press X to delete them. And so say we had an animation going on here. Say we had this cube. And I'll go ahead and press my back button to go back to frame 0. And press F to insert a keyframe, G to grab, R to rotate, F. Press F again, G to grab, S to scale, F again, G to grab, F, 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 G to grab, F. Okay, so we've got like a 10-second long animation here with this cube zipping all about. Say I had built a path to track this or something. So say I were to double right click over here and under curve, add a Bezier curve and press tab to go into edit mode and select this endpoint here and press E to extrude and just, make some kind of crazy path here. Rotate these, of course. We can extrude this around. And so say I wanted the camera to follow this path now. Now that there is an animation already in the scene, if we, with the path selected under camera, press follow path, and notice that the animation will be generated for the length of whatever we've got going on animated in our scene, which is pretty cool. So I could press play, and notice the camera following the path, and these should end right at the same time. And there you go. Of course, if I wanted to reverse that, I could just press camera, reverse path here, and it would be going in the other direction. And there you have that. So if I press go back here. So right now, the camera by default will both move to the position of this path, but also the camera angle tracks the angle of the path. So if we press play, you can see it moving along there following that. We can stop this at any time under camera if we just press stop track. And when we do that, the camera's rotation will be left still like this. Or we could, position the camera however we want. We could press R to rotate, Z to transform, do something like this, and press play. And so now the camera will stay stuck in that angle, still being moved along the path there. And that happens when we press stop track. Of course, track path is now the option now, which we could go back to doing that. We could press track path, and now we see it's, tracking the path again. Well, what if we wanted the camera to follow this path but track our animation? So we can do that. All we have to do is select the object we want to be tracked, and under camera, press track selected, which was previously follow selected, but that was changed in a recent version of Sensei format to better represent what was going on there. And now if we press play, notice down here in the camera view that the camera is moving along the path here, but tracking the object that we told it to, which is nice. And of course, we can adjust the time of this animation path by adjusting these keyframes. So say I didn't want this to actually start till halfway through the animation, I could press G to grab this first keyframe in the animation path and go back here. And this would just be tracking this cube until it got to this point where the actual path animation started. And so now it's going much faster because it's got to do all that in 5 seconds instead of 10. And so with the combination of the track selected and follow path, we can really quickly apply some very advanced camera animation techniques.